What is going on, DDP Snake Pit fans? It's time for another edition of the Snake Pit, presented to you exclusively by Podcast Heat and AdFreeShows.com. I, of course, am John Alba, joined as I am by two bona fide Hall of Famers this week. First off, Mr. Diamond Dallas Page. DDP, how we doing?
Man, awesome, man. Coming off a great week last week, so I'm ready to rock.
And, of course, his cohort, Mr. Jake the Snake Roberts. What's up, Jake? Oh, you want more? Saran wrap. Okay, gotcha. We love a good callback here on DDP Snake Pit. And if you haven't checked out our Rick Rude episode from a couple weeks ago, you need to. It was an all-timer.
You told that story, yeah. Well, I was in Alaska.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a bit of a story.
Let's go on the extra mile.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, this is going to be one of our most anticipated episodes on the Snake Pit because we are talking about the career of Sting, one of the most iconic figures in professional wrestling history. Man, both of you know very well, and I'm very excited to pick both of your brains on the icon himself. So let's turn the clocks all the way back, guys. Here we go. Sting, one of the true defining figures of his era in professional wrestling. He starts wrestling in 1985 in California as Flash, teaming with a guy named Jim Hellwig as Power Team USA.
I got to, jump in and rake your eyes right there. It doesn't happen without a guy named Rick Bassman. Do you know who Rick Bassman is?
Yes, of course. California promoter who helped launch the careers of so many.
So many. John Cena, but go back to where this little dude who sees these guys in the gym and like, you guys should be wrestlers. And originally he put four guys together. Originally, I can't remember the other two guys' names. One actually had a shot in AEW, not AWA back in the day. But to look at Sting back then and Hellwig, which both looked unbelievable. Stinger nowhere near as big as he would eventually get, but living in the gym and loving his what he was doing in the gym, and then gets this opportunity to get in wrestling. And I don't know how Rick ever really thought he could control it after that.
Oh my God!
Because it took on a life of its own. But give it to Rick. He helped a lot of guys in the business. Like I said, John Cena, another guy, kind of famous.
He did all right for himself.
Yeah, he's done okay.
Loves cattle.
But what's interesting about that is I've never looked at Sting as a body guy. He's always had a great body. He's always looked like a professional wrestler, but you combine him with a Jim Hellwig, an Ultimate Warrior. And in my opinion, there is a disparity there. So in those early days in his career, did he carry more of that visual presentation in that regard?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was a body guy, absolutely, a great body. Hellwig, of course, they both together. It's very rarely, and Jake, you answer this. Very rarely do a tag team both become ridiculously over.
Yeah, it's usually one or the other.
One or the other, always, man.
And you look at Jannetty and Sean.
Yeah, well, Sean. I was just talking to Paige this morning about Sean because we were talking about what happened last week on Raw and Sean coming back, and I was like, that guy, like, he's top. You got to look at him as like maybe top 3 in the world if you add of all time, because if you add everything in with Sean, the look, the rap, the entrances, the matches. Yeah. I mean, that cat, he had it all. And I was explaining, about, because she'd seen DX and everything, and she didn't understand it. And when I explained it to her and showed her some clips of it, she was like, wow, okay, that cat was really over. And Jannetty, Marty didn't hit that spot. It's tough. It's tough to be that other guy. So when you look at Sting and Hellwig, and they both went in separate directions and became separate huge stars in separate companies.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen.
Well, they did just that because they'd go on to Memphis, they'd become the Freedom Fighters, and then ultimately they end up in Bill Watts' territory in '86. He's now going under the name of Sting. He's now going under the name of Sting, one half of the Blade Runners with the Ultimate Warrior. So in just a short period of time, again, we started talking about this. He debuted in 1985, and within 2 years, he's already really starting to hit some notable territories. When do you guys first remember hearing about Sting?
I think when he got the WCW
Okay.
Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling, I think that's where I noticed him because I wasn't really watching Watts' territory back then.
I heard about him, but simply because there had been a ruckus in the locker room and two guys got into it and didn't do so well. I can't remember if it was Sting or Hellwig, but Dickie Slater got a hold of him and shoved his head in the toilet. And
I think that wasn't Sting. No way.
Whatever. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't remember.
Sting wrote an outstanding piece in the Players Tribune. If you haven't read this yet, it dropped a couple months ago, where he talks about those first few years of his career where he was ready to give up everything. He was ready to give up. It was a struggle on the onslaught, but eventually they make their way to, well, he makes his way to JCP, I should say, specifically. In your conversations with him over the years, do you remember him ever opening up about some of those struggles early on?
Not really.
No.
I know he said it was, it's like anybody starting out, a lot of guys are living out of their cars, starting out.
I can tell you what he went through with Watts.
Let's hear it.
That was hell. But I'll also tell you that Sting was very fortunate to go there, because that place you learn more than any other place on the planet. Bill Watts made you learn.
And what was the name of that territory again? It's
Mid-South.
Mid-South. Skips my brain.
Yeah, Mid-South, man. I mean, you went in there and you had to learn, because you were in the same towns every week, and you better go out there and produce. If you don't, you're down the road.
What do you gain from that as a performer, Jake?
You gain a lot. You gain a lot of confidence, man. Because when you can go in there not knowing how to direct the match, but before you leave there, you'll know how to direct the damn match, because Bill was real good about partnering people up. That he never put two green guys together. You know what I'm saying? Like, he tagged me up with Barbarian to help Barbarian, and we wrestled DiBiase and Doc, which was easy. I wrestled DiBiase and he wrestled Doc. I didn't want nothing to do with Doc, man.
Doc was a killer.
Oh, he would have stretched me inside and out, man. Hell no. Just because he could,
The interesting part about really all that is that, eventually WCW comes to life because they buy different territories. And that's and I know back in the day that when Vince was on, WWE was on TBS, Turner wanted to buy it, just like he bought the Braves and the Falcons and the Hawks. So he owned the programming, which, if you look back at that now, that was such genius. That's what everybody's trying to do with all these streaming services.
All media,
own the content.
Mm-hmm.
And, Ted was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was.
And then when he comes in, who takes a shine to Sting? Nate. Yeah. Nature Boy, man. And Nature Boy, we go to I can't remember if it was a 20-minute Broadway or a 60-minute Broadway. So this was
45.
So, yeah, the first Clash of Champions is March 27th, 1988, and they go to a 45-minute draw. Sting's been in the company for less than a year at that point. What does that say to you guys when you see something like that happen at that stage in the game?
Well, the big thing that comes out of this whole thing is Sting has been very, very fortunate to have been partnered up with people that could teach him and that could lead him in the ring. And Flair liking him, that was it. He had the golden spoon now, man, because Flair's going to take him out there and make him go. And he'll take him through the whole match without Sting having to think about anything other than
just
fire up,
fire up,
sell, fire up, sell. That's it, bro.
I mean, I don't think there could be a greater compliment than to have Nature Boy, which I can remember Nate's
training you,
I can remember when Nate's going out there with Joey Maggs. Joey Maggs was an enhancement cat, but Nate loved him and went out there and did like 15 minutes. Nate went over, but he shined Joey up big time. And he came back, and people were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I mean, I thought it was great because he was lifting Joey up. But when you got the Nature Boy going 45 strong with you, and then going to a Broadway, it's a message. And I'll give you one that happened in AEW when Cody brings this kid Darby Allin out of nowhere, brings him. Nobody knows who he is, and does a 20-minute Broadway. I was like, wow.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, he really, and look at him today.
Yeah.
Kid's red hot. And who's he tagging with? Sting.
Imagine that.
What's the odds of that?
I'm waiting for Vegas to call. Because, well, wait a minute. They don't do it for wrestling. They just do it for football.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's nothing wrong with suggesting that, Jake, because one of our favorite partners here on DDP Snake Pit just happens to be my bookie. Your favorite athletes always strive to put themselves in a winning position, and it's about time you do too with MyBookie. MyBookie has the biggest online selection of odds and contests to fill all your sports betting needs anytime, anywhere. Bet on the NFL, the Major League Baseball postseason, or play for a share of big cash prizes in the weekly blackjack tournaments. If you've been waiting for the right time to get in on the action, that time is now. Make your winning move today. So you can sign up at MyBookie, use promo code SNAKEPIT, and claim your deposit match of any amount up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code SNAKEPIT to claim your bonus. Experience sports in a whole new light and make the season a winning one. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Dallas, isn't it crazy? I mean, you grew up in Jersey, Atlantic City, all that stuff, that this is something that people can all get in on now.
Well, yeah, so gambling is something I grew up in. I was a poker player. I bet on football. I lost on football a lot. Those guys would love me. I mean, I literally, friends, I went on a streak of losing 45 I picked 45 out of 47 losers.
God, that's incredible.
Like, I had people, in the two that I did have were the Giants on one and the Jets on the other. I lost them both. My friends of mine called me up and wanted to know where I was going because they were going the other way, no matter which way I went. So, I learned my lesson. If you ever
want to do some betting, brother, just come to me.
Yeah, Jake's good. I'll take Jake's bets, and I will put him on the bookie spot.
Yeah, well, that's it. Jake's using MyBookie these days, and you can too. It's promo code SNAKEPIT. Get in on all of the action.
Might as well have it in your pocket if you're going to have it at all.
And if you're really looking for the right pick, give me a call, and I'll tell you which one to go with.
Okay, there you go.
The opposite.
You go the opposite.
Yeah, go the opposite.
Pick the team wearing the purple socks. Call it a day. There you go. All right, let's get back to Sting. So I love the concept of Ric Flair here because Sting obviously had an incredible career in his own right, but everybody needs that opportunity. Everybody needs that shot. Is it a fair statement, Jake, to say that Ric Flair made Sting?
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely, without a doubt, man.
And continued to.
And continued to, absolutely. For what, 15 years?
Wow.
He just completely, and he deserved it because he's got the work ethic. He's not going to go out and get totally messed up and not show up or anything like that. He's not into drugs or anything like that. So he's a good bet. And Rick invested a lot in him. He invested his own time. Plus he would stand up for Sting, in booking meetings or whatever and say, well, this is the guy I want to go with.
I think once they really saw him go, he was going to be, he very quickly, was seen as the franchise. And, so many people, me included, have so much, thanks to give to someone like Sting because they helped lift us up,
What was it about him in those early days that allowed him to connect with audiences?
I think the charisma and the energy more than anything. Like his energy was infectious and his matches were good. And he was super solid wrestler. Even though he was green coming into that spot,
he was solid.
He was solid and believable. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You got it, the look, the rap, the size, the believability. And he had it all the way around. And it was quickly being able to be seen that he was going to be the guy.
Yeah. And once he got a hold of that spot, man, he just rolled with it.
And held it he's still got it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's even going longer than Nate because Nate kept it, for 4 decades, staying on top. And Sting is in that spot. of where he literally, he's 60. Everybody knows how old he is. He's 63 and he's still going, and he's not doing, he's not phoning it in.
No,
He's not doing paper matches.
Yeah, he's not doing that. It goes back to where, my biggest shot that really, like, I couldn't in 96. I'd already had like 3 or 4 matches with Sting up till that point, and they were pretty quick matches. But in 96, he had asked me if we were going to be on Nitro. And he had asked me, he said, so what do you want to do? I was like, you want to know what I want to do? And he actually let me lay out a lot of that match. And
is that one of your earlier matches?
Yeah, that was one of
the first one.
Yeah, that was the one.
I watched that, man.
Yeah, in 96, because I'd already had a couple matches that were quick matches. I was a job guy. And very few guys came out of that spot of a job position. I had to go away and leave. And that's when I hooked up with Jake. And then coming back, I was making little gradual lifts, but I couldn't get over that mid-card spot. And then that 96, I mean, it's right before my career takes off. But this is a big reason why I did, because Stinger went out there and he really made me out there. It wasn't.
It was a competitive match. I watched it this morning. In fact, it was a very competitive match. I was kind of like, wow, yeah, they're doing it, man. They're doing it. It's one thing to be out there with a guy that you know that the guy's going over, but for that guy to take the time to create some doubt, which makes him, there was doubt. Damn, Sting, you're in a bad spot here. This big cat can go. And that's exactly the message he wanted to put out there, and he put it out there, which was a big favor to him.
It was huge. And what happened was really cool, and it happens, I wouldn't say frequently, but when you see some guys step up, I came in through that curtain, and it's the first time it ever happened. I got that old, standing ovation, like, wow.
That feels good.
You know what was really great about that match? The next day, I go home, and it's out of my head. I'm on what's coming up next. And back when I first became a wrestler and I was managing the Freebirds, when I told Michael and Jimmy, because they felt bad for me losing my spot as a manager. I had 7 months left of my contract. I've told the story a million times. When I told them, don't worry about it, I'm good. I got 7 months left of my contract. I'm going to become a wrestler. And they looked at each other and burst out laughing. Michael especially, like, fall down on the ground laughing. And I gave them both the "you're number one" sign, and said, I'll see you in the ring. And bottom line is, that next day I had gone. When I get home, I would go to the gym. I'd go to my chiropractor. I'd go to my massage therapist. And I'm gonna be 40 at that point. So I'm trying to hold back the hands of time. And I get to my house to grab something. I'm running out the door as I hear the phone message go off, and I hear, Paige, P.S. And I hadn't talked to Mike in a couple of years. So I ran back and I picked up the phone. I'm like, Mike, I go, hey, bro. He goes, God, son of a mother. I'm like, Mike, what's the matter? What's the matter? Paige,
house on fire.
Paige, how sometimes you call somebody in the middle of the day because you don't want them to pick up the phone. You want to leave a message? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you want me to hang up so you can call back and leave a message? No.
You called me.
No, Paige. Paige, I got to be honest with you. We saw your match last night. We all did. And I have never been so happy to eat crow in all my life. Hell of a job, kid. And he hung up at me.
Yeah, because he couldn't stand it anymore.
He couldn't give you any more praise.
Yeah.
But it was such
out of character for him.
Yeah, it was such a special moment for me, though. That Michael,
man.
of all, because Michael, like, people from this generation, they don't know how great Michael P.S. Hayes is. And the matches he would have with Sting, they were tear downs, man. Tear it down, man. Because, Michael could really go. He had the look. He had the talk. I mean, nobody could talk any better than him.
Well, I always wanted to beat the shit out of him just because of his hair.
He had great hair.
We definitely need to do a Michael Hayes episode in long form at some point.
100%.
because I host Matt Hardy's podcast. I've heard some great Freebird stories on that, so I can't even imagine what you guys have to offer. And
those were his boys, big time.
Mhm.
Coming in like the Hardy boys, Hardy brothers, friggin' Jeff and Matt, and of course the other guys too, friggin' who never Edge, Edge and
guy?
Christian, they were a lot of Michael P.S. Hayes, is in those guys, and he was there to nurture them and teach them. Coming up from kids who were just on the road, literally living in their cars.
Oh yeah,
I
remember running into Edge in Hamilton, Ontario, and he's talking to me, and he's like, "They want me to do this, and they want me to do that." And I said, "Well, how do you feel about that?" He goes, "I don't want to cut my hair off." I said, "Then don't. But just know that they're not going to use you right now because you look too much like somebody else." Because he looked just exactly like Triple H when they had the long hair.
Yeah.
And 4H went, crazy, but
all right. Let's circle back to Sting here. So the Sting's big crowning moment comes against Ric Flair after a brief run as a Horseman and RoboCop, which we don't need to talk about here.
Yeah, that was.
I love that match.
Yeah, you're a RoboCop guy.
Yes, I know, but I love that match.
Okay, that's fair.
It made me happy.
Okay, that's fair. It encompasses that era of professional wrestling pretty well, matching up with RoboCop. But he defeats Flair at Great American Bash 1990 in Baltimore to win his first world championship, and just like that, Ric Flair is here to stay Sting is here to stay as a main eventer in WCW. How do you remember his popularity climbing at that time? We know the Surfer Sting character. It really feels like he's marketed towards kids, but he connects with adults because of his charisma, and he's so special at that time.
He was the man. The young people loved him because he yelled and he screamed and he made everybody happy.
He beat on his chest and
beat on all things that kids would love to do, to mom or dad or whoever. But once his popularity started to build, brother, it was doubling overnight.
The women
that way.
The women
love him.
So that's the key it factor. Guys want to hang with you and have a drink, and women want to be with you. It's simple as that.
And have a moment.
Yeah, and also what he had, which is really special, is grabbing that kid element, because the kid element, that's what pushes the parents, and parents who would never care about wrestling, who really want to connect with their kid, will all of a sudden care. And it's just a cyclical thing. That's one of the beautiful things about wrestling. It touches every walk of life. Like, wrestling fans are the best fans, but it isn't just a Copenhagen dip and coupon clip and draft beer drinking redneck. It's CEOs and and stockbrokers. So it's across the board. It's moms and grandmas. Yeah, right. We've had some unbelievable. I think today WWE is showcasing that better than anything.
But not Biden. No.
Let's keep rolling here. So a guy that we haven't mentioned yet, that I know you both have a lot of respect for, and that's Luger. And Luger is a pretty important part to that early Sting story. They're teaming together against the Steiners at Wrestle War in 91. And then Sting eventually defeats Luger at Super Brawl 2 to win his second world title. What do you think of their chemistry together?
Well, those guys are brothers, man. And really
inside and outside the ring.
Lex back then, he was like, I would tell anybody, if you want to try to be anybody, because he had it. He had everything. Lex Luger had it all. He had the businesses and the gyms that him and Sting both became partners in. So they weren't just doing business in the ring. They were doing business in real life too. And they were super, super tight, man. And Lex was the guy. And I think Lex from what I saw, from an outside spot of it, because I wasn't pulled into that, area yet. But from what I saw, Lex took Stinger, under his wing early on and looked out for him. And because Lex had been in the business for a while too. And again, like I said, really smart businessman. He was the first guy, besides guys like Ric Flair, who was the man, he was one of the first guys who really not just marketed himself well, but made great money all the way through. And I mean great money when people weren't making big money in wrestling.
Well, that all brings us to one of our big emphasis here on this episode, and that is 30 years ago. August 2nd, 1992, some big cat named Jake the Snake Roberts makes a memorable WCW debut by attacking Sting in Baltimore, and we are off to the races for a program that is going to really hit its peak at Halloween Havoc. Jake, that's a pretty big endorsement of you, bringing you in there to work with Sting right away. How'd that all come together?
Well, it was an opportunity for me. I'd left the WWF and went south, and to be brought in that position was just perfect. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be right in the middle of it. And of course, they brought me in, and I wrestled everybody. Well, not everybody, but close to it.
Top guys.
All the top guys, anyway. And had a memorable match with Dustin Rhodes for a TV match. But, Halloween Havoc, it everything going for it, man. And then they spin the wheel. What the hell?
Coal miners match.
Coal miners glove match. Like, hey, Steve, have you ever been to coal miners? No, me either. What do? We use a pick? What? It was just ridiculous, man. It could have been anything other than that. And that was such a downer when we heard that. But we went out there.
Did they actually really spin the wheel without having it gimmicked?
That's what they said, but I don't believe that horse crap.
Oh, so you think they set you up to fail?
Definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
That's heavy.
Well, Bill Watts was in control.
Yeah.
And Bill Watts, if you were coming from WWE, he wanted to beat you right away. Because that means our talent's better than theirs.
Well, that's kind of psychology that goes both ways.
Yeah, that's real stupid. So, he did several things. But this isn't about me. This is about Sting. But it was a pleasure to work with him, even though we had a crap opportunity. We went out there and did a job.
I do want to ask about that match, though, because a lot of people remember it for the snake. And the snake took a little gnaw on you in that match.
Yeah.
What happened there? What happened there?
Not paying attention to what I was doing. You get out there, man. Guys, you don't know that you've done it. You think you got this under control, but you don't. Because there's so much going on around you. Somebody's going to grab your arm and pull you this way. You got the snake in this hand. Somebody's going to hit your elbow this way. You go to grab a guy, the snake's right there. The snake just did what a snake does, bite. And he bit me in the cheek, which wasn't bad. Not something I'd want to do again, but it wasn't bad.
Again, I always have to throw this in here. You have to remember, Aurelian Smith is afraid of snakes.
I'm terrified of snakes, man.
But Jake Snake Roberts, when he makes that transformation, he ain't afraid of shit.
Right.
Just stupid. That's what it was, man. I took so many chances with that snake. Oh, my God. I look back now, man, and I just cringe. What could have happened?
At least it was not in a strip club with The Undertaker. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, several of those.
Go check out that one in the archives, my friends, DDP Snake Pit.
Yeah.
Dallas, so Jake comes in. What do you think of him being paired with Sting at the time?
What are you talking about, dude? Just you're in the right spot. Like you get in, you get to go get the top guy, but it looks great on paper, And I just loved the original when you came in and you got the heat on.
Yeah.
And that was real heat. And if you go back and you listen to the crowds back then, like the crowds are still, they're again, right now, they're pretty hot again. Like they're pretty white hot again. But there was a different level of, because they still didn't know in 80.
You could feel the hate.
Yeah, you could get it's been over this last few years, it's been tough to get real heat, because the smart, all the fans are smart, to a certain degree. But and that's what I was talking about last week. I'm talking about that today. They're creating real heels again, which is really tough to do. But you go back to where Jake was in the spot, and Jake was in coming in, they let him get heat. Those people were screaming.
Yeah,
they were mad. People were pissed. There wasn't like, oh, that kind of face. People they were invested.
Yeah.
And,
Going up and down the aisle was always fun. You never knew what was going to happen.
It's not like going into the crowd today.
Oh God,
like Jake could never have gone into the crowd back in those days. Still.
Oh God, no.
You get taken out.
Let's fast forward a few years then to the transformation of Sting into probably his most memorable character, and that is Crow Sting. We know what goes down at Bash at the Beach, the NWO.
Don't go that far. Let's stick with that for a second. You talk about like what happened. The inside, behind the scenes story
let's hear it.
Scott Hall is the one who really gave him that suggestion, because Sting he didn't know where he was going. He just knew he didn't want to do the spiked hair, that Sting. He didn't want to do that anymore. He wanted to grow, and he wanted to reinvent himself, which is probably the most important thing in professional wrestling, especially if you're going to have longevity. Like what he's doing today, he's still that same guy, but he's a different version of it. But that was a huge transformation.
And a scary one.
And when the NWO was so hot at that time, and he saw every babyface getting eaten alive, he thought, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go up into the rafters for a while. And it was the smartest thing he could have ever done, because it opened up so many things. And for me, as a guy who was a heel and was about to turn babyface because of the NWO, it was the best thing in the world that happened to me, period.
Shit, yeah.
Because it took the top guy and put him out, and all the other top babyfaces were getting beat down. And I was friends with, a legitimate relationship with Kevin and Scott. So that's why we drug that angle out, and it helped me elevate. But it all came off that match that Sting did with me, and then getting to work with Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
And Eddie really put me on the map. Yeah. Eddie, like what Jake was saying before about him going with, someone and helping Barb at the time, or whoever he might work with, he was out there to teach him.
Yeah.
And that Eddie helped take me to a different spot, but it started with Sting, and then Eddie, and then Scott and Kev, and then Macho, so it's all, you don't get there by yourself.
No.
There always got to be someone else.
Well, if you do, you won't be there long.
It's a fair point. Well, Sting's transformation into the Crow character, and he's doing the rafter stuff, as you said, it builds a lot of intrigue for your eventual blow-off match between him and Hogan, obviously, but it also does big-time intrigue for WCW Nitro. Nitro really starts to move ahead during this time, because everyone wants to know, what is Sting going to do? What kind of intrigue is he bringing to the company at that point? And were you guys in the locker room all aware of just how impactful this story being told was going to be for your company, Dallas?
I just, everything was working on all cylinders. When the momentum shifts, and it had shifted, and that had everything to do with Scott and Kev. They were the catalyst of all that. So it's really kind of cool that the late, great Scott Hall was the guy to give the gimmick to Sting, and then Sting did his thing with it, but Kevin and Scott coming over, that changed the pendulum When Hogan became part of that, it had completely shifted. And again, I'm just sitting back going like, I'm just happy to be here.
Damn right.
And it just kept growing. But Sting going up in the rafters, I don't know whose idea it was for him to come out of the ceiling. I would imagine it was his, but I've never asked him that. But when you think up in the rafters, you keep seeing them up in the rafters, kind of like what they did with, completely different, but kind of like what they did with Bray Wyatt, and building the White Rabbit and seeing little glimpses and then taking it away.
Teasing.
People want what they can't have. No, give it to us now. But they really don't want it right away.
No.
And if you take that, the biggest pay-per-view in the history of the WCW was Sting and Hogan. They built that for a year. The entire 97. Sting, and that's where he came out and gave me the rub a number of times. And again, that's what helped give me a little bit more, getting that rub like he got from Rick, and all the guys ended up, being a part of that, and for me to watch it all happen and actually one time come down and grab me, save me from the NWO and lift me 87 feet into the air in the Fleet Center. That was crazy shit, Today I would never, I would never have thought of doing it, But back then, the original idea was Eric goes, and then he tells me at his house, he's like, and then Sting will drop down, and then, you'll grab a hold of him, and you'll both take off into the ceiling. And I just looked at him. I'm like, okay. And I no sell it because he was hoping that I was going to go, no, I'm not doing it. What are you, crazy? Yeah, he wanted me, you can't sell shit.
No,
you can't sell. And I learned that from really, it was Austin and Mick Foley, the shit that they did to me early in my career, and the Freebirds ribbing me because I would sell so hard that it would just make them laugh out loud.
Oh God.
And at some point those two really, Austin and Foley, got me to stop selling. Like, no sell. And then later when they found out that, okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to wear a harness. You're going to put it under your jacket. I get there for TV and I know this is going down. So I got to come out there and feel the harness, get the hook, get lifted up. So I'm all dressed in my gear and stuff. I come down there. They say, okay, you're going to be laying in a spot. Your Hogan's going to hit you with the belt. You're going to go to the floor and then Sting's going to drop. And then nobody's supposed to bother us. He's supposed to hook me, threaten, and take off. And what did Jake just say before? When he said about you get out there and it's always like, what you want to do.
Yeah,
but there's 3, 4, 5, 8 other guys.
Yeah.
So many brains out there.
What the hell are they going to do? And I'm not scared. And I am not scared to go at this point. Until I hear Sting going, what are you doing? And he just starts taking his badge. Get the hell away from me. Like, he's like, you're not supposed to be screwing around right now. And they're feeding him. And as he's hitting him, he's got concern in his voice. And now I'm like, oh God, now I start breathing, hyperventilating. And I'm like, oh God,
Easy, boy, easy.
Oh God, is he going to hook me up the right way? Because it's one clip.
Right, you got to nail it.
But I also got to tell you, earlier when I went out there, they hooked me up and they lift me 10 feet off the ground. And they go, you good? I go, I'm good. I go, put me down now. He goes, no, we're going to take you all the way to the top. I go, no, you're not. No, you're not. He goes, no, we've got to test it. I go, Sting's going up and down a million times. I said, today I'm Frank Sinatra. In other words, you got one take. Don't blow it. So now, like I say, I'm on the ground and I'm hyperventilating. And I'm like, I breathe. And I feel Sting click it. And they only lift me up about 6 inches so you can feel like he's on me. And he's going to ride me like a horse 87 feet into the ceiling. And right there, I'm just okay, breathing. Sting's got me, he's got me. And then I'm kind of my eyes closed, you know. And we start going, and the crowd is going crazy. And I'm going, open your eyes. Open your eyes. You're only going to see this once.
Oh my God.
And I open my eyes. Everybody's like, ah!
No.
It was a crazy visual. Yeah, everybody's got, cameras and GoPros on them. I would have loved to have a GoPro on my head and one on my face. I'm screaming my ass off as we're going up.
You didn't cry.
Wait, let me get to the top.
Did you cry?
No, I didn't. I was screaming.
Where's the flag?
You're throwing a flag.
I'm throwing a flag.
So we get to the top, and the catwalk's up there. There's a railing.
Yeah.
And I grab that railing and
With
I
your
throw
hands
myself over
and legs.
and throw myself over. And now I'm upside down. My feet are in the air.
You're still hooked up.
I'm still hooked up. And Sting is out here and there's a white light behind him. And I go, oh my God.
It's gone.
Dude, you really are Batman.
Yeah.
He popped. And it's a moment I will never forget.
My God.
And I'm in the middle of my feud with Savage. I ran out there to attack the NWO, attack Randy, and that's when Sting came down. Again, another rub from Sting. It was amazing.
Well, I have a hypothesis on why he was able to get you all the way up there into the rafters so easily, and that's because you were in great shape, Dallas, from your AG1s that I know you are making sure are part of your diet every single day. Isn't that the truth?
And just so people know that I really do it, I bring my box in to show you. And we're drinking it all the time. And again, it's all about, for me to endorse any kind of product, especially when it comes to food, it's got to be real. And this has all the ingredients that I do want and all the garbage out. It's really what they're putting in this. This is real vitamins and enzymes and giving me all the nutritional vitamins I need. So I'll drink it here so you see I really drink the stuff.
That's
and
because
it tastes good. And I didn't believe that was really going to be like that.
I didn't either.
Because most of this stuff tastes like garbage.
Crap.
I was watching Tony Robbins years ago. It was one of his conventions. And this guy can talk for 11 straight hours and have the energy like you've never seen before. Like, what is he taking? What is he doing? And he puts over that green drink that he's got, right? So I buy it like a mark, thinking, hey, I'll try it. It tasted like dirt. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care how healthy something is. If it don't taste good, I'm not using it. Man. This stuff I drink every single day, sometimes twice a day.
That's because with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients supporting your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all of those things. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients, like Dallas said, that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro habit with big time benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself, and it costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit, cheaper than getting all those different supplements yourself. It is an all-in-one nutritional insurance, and right now it is time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements. Look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do, visit athleticgreens.com/DDP Snake. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/DDP Snake to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Dallas, you were just on the road. You had the travel packs with you. It was super easy, wasn't it?
No, 100%. And I've spent 2 weeks in Alaska, so I took literally 24 packs of me. I did 2 days because I know I'm not going to eat as good as I normally can eat at home. So I want to make sure I had everything that I needed. About keeping your immune system boosted is the most important thing. That's why, like COVID,
with us traveling all the time, man, we had to have something in our pocket, man. If not, you were a dead dog, bro.
Yeah, the road will beat you up more than anything. Yeah. You hear these singers talk about how much the road beats them up, because the road does, but they don't take any of the bumps that we took, night after night after night.
That's the reason we don't see.
Yeah, you have your voice. All right, so
goodness.
Hey, fans, I hope you fans have noticed that I'm not wearing oxygen today.
You're
I
looking
know.
great.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, man. Things are getting better because I'm using the oxygen gizmo, man.
Right. Yeah, we use this thing called Libo 2, and it's a oxygen mask that it's all about
Challenging your lungs.
challenging your lungs. Like we'll put this mask on and train. You're like, he'll be doing squats, I'll be on the bike or something, and what it's doing, it's taking you. We have breathed 21% oxygen right now. What this does is literally brings the oxygen like we're 10,000, 15,000. I'm at 19,000 feet right now. So it takes away the oxygen, and then it creates a need. So when you flip the switch and it goes to 90% oxygen, boom.
You blast, man, which helps your brain. A lot of people in the NFL are starting to use it for concussion protocol.
And yeah, this is no ad. We're just talking about something that we're using that if you can get him off of this, that's super special, man.
We're getting there, baby. I just wanted my fans out there to know the Snake Man wasn't bullshitting you. I'm getting better.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
We love to hear that. So Dallas, you mentioned that it was special as an enhancement guy starting to work with Sting, and now here you are, just a few years later, 1998, 1999. You're working big time matches with him, and eventually, in '98, March of '98, Sting's the WCW champ. You're the US champion. And he pins you on an episode of Nitro in about 11 minutes. But afterwards, he helps you to your feet. And there's somewhat of an endorsement going on here. And eventually that's going to lead to a year later where in that four-way match that we've talked about here on the podcast, you win your world title for the first time and he's in that match. Did you form a nice close bond with Sting at that time as you're both towards the top of the card there in WCW?
I got tighter and tighter and tighter with Sting, and that was super cool. Super cool. Today we're super tight. But back then, like I didn't know he was going to do that after that match where I had the U.S. title and he had the world title. And after our match, it was a hell of a match. After our match was over, he threw up the diamond cutter sign, and he didn't do it once. He did it like 3 different times, and then he came over and got me and picked me up and gave me a hug, and I raised his hand. It was like, double babyface match. Not a lot of guys could do that.
No.
But me and him did. Me and Goldberg did it, but, doing it with him was super amazing. And you got to go back to that, you go to that four-way dance, Rick, Hogan, and Sting. And me. Yeah. And all these guys are multiple world champions, not me.
Big time
and
night.
It was, you have to go 4 years before this because this is a really special story for me. Because 4 years and 14 days before this, which was April 11th. 1999, 4 years, 4 years and 4 months and 14 days earlier, I'm on the phone with Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty was, like Jake, my mentor. And I could talk to Dusty about anything. And I was just venting this one day. And I was really pissed because they didn't see it in me. This is like 94. And no one could see it. And I said, Dream, what I was really looking for was what I would call the Jake Roberts, Rick Rude spot, where you didn't know who was going to win. Jake went out there, Rick went out there, you didn't know who was going over. It wasn't like a match what I had earlier in my career with Sting. Sting's going over. Like, when do you get to a point where you don't know that? And now it becomes this, that was my ultimate goal. It wasn't to be the world champion. It wasn't to be a Hall of Famer. It was to get to that spot
where you're considered
and believable.
Yeah. And
I just said, Dust, I know I'm never going to be you or Rick or Hulk. I know I'm never going to be the world champion, but these son of a bitches have been done it. Enough. And he had never yelled at me ever. He goes, "What did you just say?" Now I feel kind of stupid. I'm like, well, Dustin, I know I'm never going to be you or Rick. No, D, what did you say after that? I said, well, I know I'm never going to be the world champion. He goes, then what the hell are you doing it for? Dallas, if you don't believe you could be the world champion, you need to get the hell out of our business right now. And he kept going.
Yeah, he pissed him off.
And I can't tell you what he said after that, but I can tell you exactly what I did. Next to my phone was a ledger pad, and I grabbed it. And I wrote on it, I will be the world champion in 5 years or less. It was 4 years, 4 months, and 14 days later. The crazy part is that I'm telling him I'm never going to be Rick or Hulk or him. Yet that day, that night, I step in the ring with Rick and Hulk, and Dusty's retired, but the franchise isn't. The Stinger, with Randy Savage as the guest referee. And 2 years earlier, Randy lifted me up.
Yeah.
Like Rick lifted Sting up. And it changed my life forever. And that night, to have beaten Rick, of all people, in the middle with the cutter, another thing changed my life. And it would be like, it proved that inside this, and people know if they listen to the podcast, inside my Hall of Fame ring, it says work ethic equals dreams, exclamation point, DDP. And that's a message that I constantly try to get out there, that you can do it. Anything can happen, but it's going to take time. You got to be patient. You got to be positive. You got to be able to work through all of the negative garbage that I call emotional gravity that pulls you down. Shake that shit off and just keep moving forward.
And that's what Sting did coming up through there. But you did it the hard way. He did it the hard way, man.
Jake, how significant was it to have those three guys in there in the ring, putting Dallas over in terms of solidifying him as a main event?
$1 million to 1 shot at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Last person they would have expected to win. But more importantly, those three guys in the ring wanted him to win because they had learned what he was really like. They respected him. They knew how hard he worked. They may have made fun of him with his ice bags and everything else that he did because
wish they were doing them.
Yeah, because now they wish the hell they'd done them. Because he's still out there doing stuff, and us old farts are creaking and cranking and rolling around barely. But that was the moment there, man. I can't imagine that. It makes me want to cry, man. That just what a great compliment, to have those three cats, or actually four, because Randy's in there too, to be a part of that, man, to lift you.
Yeah.
If it's not the stamp of approval, there's not one.
Well, eventually Sting's WCW run comes to an end with the end of the company, and on the final Nitro, it is Sting versus Ric Flair. How apropos. Dallas, what was that like, seeing that? How surreal must that have been?
It was surreal. That whole night was surreal, but being able to end with those two guys, where it started, really, WCW.
That was really classy of them to put them out there and for them to go out and perform in that situation with what else going on around them. It would have been a little harder to perform. But they went out there and cranked it up, man, and just went on about business. That's the greatest thing about wrestling. Scott Hall will tell you, I don't have problems in the ring. I have problems out of the ring. Because when we're in the ring, we feel like we're in control of everything. Without me, you can't breathe, you can't walk, you can't jump. It's all about me and what I want to happen. So there you go.
Eventually, Dallas, you'd have your WWE run, we know, but your first match out of WWE after leaving O2 actually comes July of 2004. It's HCW Battle Hawaii. And listen to this match. This is just crazy. We found this in our research. It's Sting and the Great Muta defeating you and Kojima in 11 minutes and 5 seconds. What a fever dream. I mean, holy crap. To work with that level of talent, even at that stage in your career, and we know that Sting's about to go on a big run in TNA. What was that whole experience like?
Actually, that was me coming back. Coming back. I wanted to show at 49, kind of like what Edge is doing right now, and at 50. I just wanted to show what I could still do at 49 and just get in there. And when Scott Hall was supposed to be in that match, and Rick Bassman, who we talked about earlier, it was his card in Hawaii, and he asked me if I wanted to come in. I'm like, absolutely. And I had a great time. I love working with those guys, and it also was a good match too. And for me to be away from it for like at that point 2.5 years, and then coming back, it was okay. I'm ready to go. And I was going to TNA, because I was going there, and they, it was Vince Russo who talked me into it, and he wasn't even going to be there anymore. And I wanted again to just get another one last run and work with Raven again and work my way up to Jeff. In the meantime, Stinger was, coming in pretty much right after that. And if you'd asked me if anybody of all people was going to not be wrestling in their 50s, never mind their 60s. To me, it was Sting.
Yeah.
Because he made great money. He did very, very well. And he was just a super solid cat. I just thought he would go on to do other things, but he loves he loved the business at a different level. And he also got to do a lot of things he never got to do before. So TNA, I was really blown away that he did that. And then when he came into WWE, that was smart business all the way around. And I know they paid handsomely for him coming in there.
Well, I feel like that was one of those when hell freezes over moments in wrestling, because we know that Vince made multiple attempts to bring Sting in, especially after WCW folded, and he was concerned, and I'd love your perspective on this, Jake. He was concerned about how he would be portrayed. We saw what happened to a lot of WCW guys in WWE. They were portrayed in a less than favorable light.
Yeah.
But so Sting held off, and then eventually 2014, 2015, he comes back. He gets this enormous debut at Survivor Series, and he ends up working Triple H at WrestleMania. Triple H does go over, but it's a pretty memorable match. Jake, what did you think of Sting holding out that long to finally get his WrestleMania moment?
Shocking. I never seen Sting coming back. I never seen Sting going up there. And I'm sure that he had a ton of fear as to how they was going to portray him and what they wanted to do. But I think that he probably gained trust in Hunter pretty quickly. And they must have become friends of some sort, or business-wise anyway, to go ahead and do that. So it was good to see, but in a perfect world, he would have came back sooner. In a perfect world, though, not many of those around.
I think it's another classic thing, and we were talking about it over the last few weeks. Seth Rollins. It doesn't matter who wins or loses when that cat's out there. It doesn't matter. If he's doing the job, he just got elevated again.
Yeah.
And when Sting came in, they gave him, so far as I was concerned, they pushed the hell out of him. I mean, they gave him all the vignettes and all of the accolades that he should be given.
The bells and whistles were there for sure.
Yeah, and again, it's all the way. Everybody's got to have a WrestleMania moment. To me, if you're in this business, that's one of the things that you want more than anything. I had mine. Jake had many of his. It's a different animal. It's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
it's a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, and I think he got what he wanted there, and then he wanted to do more, and I'm sure they didn't see it quite the way he did. So AEW.
Well, and he had the spinal injury. Don't forget, in the Seth Rollins match, and people thought that was it. That was the end of his career. But then, as we talked about with Darby Allin, which again, a great episode in our archives, go check out. Darby was the one who really gave Sting the little nudge and said, "Come on, man, you can do this." And what a cool story that is, seeing him reinvent himself in AEW. I mean, big time stuff from Sting, and he hasn't looked like he's missed a beat. It is redefining, in my opinion, and I'd love your guys' opinion on this as we wrap up here. This is redefining and rewriting how we can use legends in professional wrestling.
Oh, I think he's the poster boy for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, he's done an amazing job for AEW, man. And he's taken some risks that I never thought I'd see Sting do.
When he
came off the
ledge on the in the arena, yeah.
I said, no way. That's what I said to myself. And I can look at him and see that he had a doubt in his mind too. What am I fucking doing? That's what he was saying. So, yeah, man, guys can be used if you want to use them in the right way.
Yeah.
The right way. Not for humiliating, let's laugh at him bullshit. But give some guy some creds for what he's done.
Yeah, I think there's not one guy on that roster who doesn't want to take, the Scorpion Deathlock. Sure. There's not one guy who doesn't want to take,
love to.
His finish, period.
I had a bunch of kids asking me to DDT, and I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? I'm wrestling. Just DDT me right here. Fuck you, man. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think Sting has had, and he still has, an amazing career. It'll be interesting for me to sit back and watch and see how long he actually goes, because he's kind of like the Kiss, the rock and roll band of wrestling, and you put that makeup on, it's like a mask, it's like wearing a hood, you forget.
He's Batman.
Yeah, you're Batman.
Well, him going out there without the paint would be like me going to the ring without a snake.
Right.
It just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I think again he's had a ridiculous career, and one of the things about the Stinger is he's one of those guys who's super grateful.
Yeah,
he's a God guy. He's like, you're not going to get any bullshit out of him.
Yeah,
he's not going to kiss your ass. He's going to be straight up with you, and he's a great human being. Period.
And the bottom line is, Dallas, the only thing that's for sure about Sting is nothing's for sure. So we will see how long he goes. Gentlemen, anything else you'd like to throw out there this week as we give our flowers to Sting here and wrap things up on DDP Snake Pit?
I'm good.
All good? Cameo?
I'm good.
I'm sure you're always a cameo. People know that. We stay busy enough. I don't need to be any busier.
No, I don't either.
That's more than fair. Well, guys, this has been a pleasure. That's DDP. That's Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm John Amble. We'll see you next week right here on DDP Snake Pit.